getting to the Chief Justice's address. Listen, my learned attorneys, she said, unfortunately, over the years, the legal profession has come under much scrutiny and I dare say much criticism. Much distrust has developed among members of the citizenry within member states, territories, and the wider region. Disbarments, suspension, and other sanctions against attorneys are becoming commonplace. I noticed that this is a scathing, these are scathing remarks about legal practitioners. But I also noticed that in Antigua, nobody has been disbarred, suspended, and there are no sanctions. Do we have perfect legal representatives in Antigua and Barbuda?
There have been sanctions.
Really?
Yes.
But I haven't been able to find them. Where are they recorded?
At the High Court of Justice, the registrar would have a record of any attorney that has come before the disciplinary committee and what the findings of the committee was.
So there are sanctions?
There are sanctions.
No suspensions?
No suspensions.
No disbarments?
And no disbarments.
The disciplinary committee itself would not be able to go beyond the sanctions, though. When you're looking at suspensions or disbarment, it would have to then be a recommendation from the committee to the Chief Justice and the Attorney General.
Also, the lawyers, the Bar Association, you can't just arbitrarily disbar.
No.
It has to go to a higher level.
Yes, the Bar Council doesn't. There's a distinction between the Bar Association and the Bar Council. As I said to you,
The Board of Directors.
Right. The Bar Council is the Board of Directors of the Bar Association.
Okay.
Outside of that, there is a disciplinary committee that is separate and apart from the Bar Council that deals with the disciplining of all attorneys, of course, on application from members of the public.
All right, but Jamaica and Barbados were cited as examples of showing zero tolerance for such behaviors, and attorneys have been disbarred. In St. Lucia, attorneys have been struck off the roll.
That's disbarred.
Yeah.
That's being, when you're struck off, you're disbarred.
Disbarred.
Yes. That is what being struck off of the roll means.
I'm just sharing information here. U.S. Justice Department, as at 7th October, I noticed a long list of suspensions for years, for months, indefinite suspensions, and some persons were disbarred.
Yes.
And in Antigua and Barbuda, what would be required for people to be disbarred or even suspended? Us, the public, making what?
There is a process. There is a process by which an aggrieved client can make a complaint to the disciplinary committee, which is also separate from the Bar Association. And the complaint that complaint then goes through a process, whether there's a prima facie case, and then it goes through a full hearing if there is a prima facie case.
Okay, I have a case. I have a lawyer, and I've paid my lawyer in full. But the strangest thing is, I just cannot get in touch with my lawyer. I call via the telephone, no answer. I send text messages, email messages, no answer. I visit the office, the lawyer is never there. Isn't that a case enough for somebody to be disbarred?
You have to look basically beyond
why are you
that.
looking at me like that? I'm too harsh?
No, because you're going straight to disbarment. There are sanctions besides disbarment.
Yes.
Disbarment is the ultimate. It's like the death penalty when you're looking at criminal law.
So what's first? The
so
sanction,
there's sanctions.
the
There's sanctions where there is reimbursement or there's compensation. There are warnings. Then you get to suspension and disbarment being towards the end of those, the higher end of discipline.
She also said a lawyer ought to be an activist for justice and a client's advocate. Very often, she said, well, very often we hear of clients making a fuss via the media, or we hear of accounts personally of aggrieved persons. What I'm trying to get here is, what do we do? Where do we go? It just seems to me as if nothing happens beyond maybe sanction.
Nothing can happen if the process is not initiated. Sometimes you hear things in the media, I'm not saying in all cases, but many times we hear things in the media, but the persons have not gone through the proper channels, meaning they have not lodged a complaint to the disciplinary committee. Unless you do that, nothing can be done.
But how many of you know about the disciplinary committee? Is the disciplinary committee an active committee?
At present, it is not as active as the Bar Council wants it to be, but there are reasons for its inactivity. I mean, to actually have a hearing, I mean, you require monies, you require funding, because to deal with an application from an ordinary member of the public where they think that they're aggrieved where their attorney is concerned, it requires a lot of paperwork. It requires having the members of the disciplinary committee actually sit down and determine, as Sharissa indicated, whether or not there was a prima facie case. A prima facie case just basically means that looking on the face of the complaint, whether or not there is sufficient grounds upon which for us to hold an investigation and for us to actually have a full hearing to deal with all the matters. So if members of the public are aggrieved, they can address their issues to the disciplinary committee, and then the process and procedure will then follow.